and welcome to the ESCAPUZZLED podcast, your one-stop shop for all escape rooms, immersive experiences, and tabletop games. Today you are joined by me, Helena. Hello, it's lovely to hear you. And also Corey, welcome.
Hello. And joining us today is Charlie Wheeler, the creator of Ultimate Quest, a puzzle book company with releases including The Last Pyramid, The Paper Labyrinth, and the recently funded Kickstarter project, Robot Revolutions. Hello, Charlie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. How are we doing today, Charlie?
Not bad, not bad. Slightly snotty, so I apologise.
Oh no.
Anything other than that, fine. Fine. How are you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
very
good.
well.
We're very good.
Yeah.
I just want to start off by saying congratulations on the recent Kickstarter project, Robot Revolution, which
Thank you.
funded very quickly. And I very happily backed because I love anything puzzle books.
It's amazing how people are still interested in my stuff. I know that sounds ridiculous, but yeah, I'm really grateful. I think it's great fun. It's something different. I think you'll really enjoy it when it comes. It's something I've not done before.
I actually can't wait. You know what really gets me with Kickstarter campaigns is all of the add-ons.
Yeah.
Boy, did you have a lot of add-ons. And I had to refrain so bad for the sake of my bank account not to add everything.
What were the add-ons?
There was pins, there was previous books, there was extra games, there was all sorts. It was dangerous, to say the least.
That does sound dangerous. Corey loves a pin, so if anybody has any pins of something interesting, escape room-wise, I
Yeah.
think he's on a roll collecting them, so I'm surprised you don't have some.
The pins actually just arrived yesterday.
Oof.
It's the first thing that I've got for this project.
The books aren't even here yet, but the pins are ready to go.
That's it, because I am awful at deadlines because I do everything myself. So there's only me to blame when things aren't on schedule. I sort of know what I'm like, so I sort of micromanage myself, if that makes sense.
Pre-plan deadlines before deadlines so
Yeah.
that you hit the actual deadline.
I know I'm bad at deadlines, so I will, like you say, deadline a deadline. And I'm a serial procrastinator. So I always make sure there's always two temptingly different things on the table to do, so that even if I'm not doing the one that I should really be doing, I'm still doing something useful. And
That's
I sort of
fair.
trick myself into doing it.
That's actually a genius way of doing it, because my desk is full of lots and lots of distractions, and they should be useful distractions, but they're all very not useful distractions. Start editing the podcast, and then I just pick up a deck of cards, I'll pick up a Rubik's Cube, I'll pick up a puzzle book. Like,
Yeah.
not okay. 4 hours
I mean,
later, I'm down a rabbit hole.
I've got a limit to it. It's still within the realms of like things that I enjoy doing. Like painting the kitchen, for example, has not yet managed to get done in any of those positions because I don't think it's interesting enough.
It's
but,
pretty hard to put on your desk as well.
Yeah. Just have a roller on one end.
So, as always on the ESCAPUZZLED podcast, we like to get started with some quickfire questions, which, as with every podcast episode, never end up turning out to be quickfire. But that's fine. We love it. We talk, we yap, we constantly get distracted by little side tangents. But we put out a player profile or a player stereotype blog a little while ago of the different stereotypes that we've found or we think are within the escape room genre. Obviously, this has been added to, it's been taken away and amended over the years as lots of people have suggested new things or we've discovered different stereotypes within an escape room. But Charlie, what would you say is your stereotype within an escape room?
So, in typical style, I couldn't pick one. I had to pick two.
That's fine. Most people do. Most people don't fit into one category.
That's good. That's good. It's been a long time, actually, since I've done an escape room. I shouldn't admit that on an escape room-based podcast. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm the puzzle nerd / the underdog, because I think from memory, I do sort of just sit there and shrink into a corner. But I am useful. I think I am useful. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange.
Okay, so you're slowly, quietly working in a corner, smashing through the puzzles, just not getting in anyone else's way.
Yeah, I mean, there have been times where all of the friends I was with were doing absolutely nothing and needed to kick up the arse, as it were, to sort of, do you know what I mean? No one was looking for anything, and there were some pretty obvious things lying around this room.
I'd be throwing hands at that point. If people weren't moving and looking for stuff, there'd be bodies piled up on the floor to maneuver around.
That one needed a sort of hard reset of, look, we're doing an escape room, you need to look for clues. But other than that, I tend to find somewhere, I love if there's a chair in a room.
Love to sit down in an escape
Yeah,
room.
love a stool.
that.
Like, there's usually a bar stool or something. because it fits a lot of themes. You can have a pirate bar stool, can't you? You can have a murder mystery bar stool.
Murder Mystery Bar Stool's just got like a long trench coat and a mustache.
Yeah.
If people could start theming their bar stools accordingly, that would be fantastic.
Someone write in. You could have like an Agatha Christie, couldn't you, where someone gets battered by a bar stool. It's you can have that for free. Anyone who's listening, write it down.
Curse of the Killer Bar Stool.
Yeah, it won't be very popular, but write it down. No, yeah, I do. I just sort of I'll sit there because obviously I make puzzle books and do things. So I think I know this sounds really like up myself, but do you know what I mean? I think when you've done loads of puzzles and things, you're sort of aware of types of puzzles and
Yeah, you know what's going on. You know where it's going.
I'd hate to be that person who'd be like, oh well, this is a combination, blah 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 blah, and it always does this. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, but how much does it throw you off when it doesn't do the thing you expect it to do?
oh,
Like,
that's fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't love that. Things need to be exactly how I think they're about to go, otherwise I panic.
I love it. And it can be as simple as like there was a door that had fake hinges on one side and the door opened the opposite way.
Oh,
Oh, I've played
what a
this. I've
tease.
played games like this.
I
I've
don't
had
think
one.
there was any reason for it.
Yeah.
There was no point to the story. But it was just something so, I think it was just really funny because everyone was sort of gathered at one end to push it and then sort of pushing went, wow, this is difficult, and realised they were pushing the like hinge end.
That would infuriate me. You know when you go to open the fridge or like a washing machine and you pull the wrong direction?
Yeah. Yeah.
Infuriating. Our washing machine and dryer are currently stacked on top of each other and the doors open in two different directions.
Oh.
Oh, I tell you what, on the daily I am unhinged. Not okay.
And the doors by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's not okay. Like, why is there not a standard, like a universal standard for doors open this way?
Well, it's normally like right.
It's
down
like
there.
putting pull handles on a push door. What are you
Oh.
playing at? It's the confidence, man. The confidence walking up to a door and pulling on it and it being a push door.
Yeah.
And then everybody's looking at you like, what a tit.
It's sod's law, absolutely, because I'll go, I'm not falling for this today, pull it, and it don't open because it's a push. Like, whatever I do, it's wrong. Sorry, that wasn't the question either. This is like, what's your player stereotype? Can't
Yeah,
open
go on.
doors.
Can't open doors.
But
Which
appreciate doors
is not
that
a
have
good
hinges on the
skill
wrong
in an
side.
escape room.
So I'm going to put you back on track, I'm afraid. What
That's
would your, if you see it every time, what would you go and play? Either if it's like an in-person escape room or it's like a tabletop or a book game, what are you picking? What's your favourite theme?
I think science fiction, but I'm saying this completely unfounded because I don't think I've ever done one. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's the absence of not having done one that makes me want to do one, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I mean, you've written quite a lot
Yeah.
of sci-fi related puzzle
Yeah,
books.
I think it's on your brain, especially with your Kickstarter.
absolutely. Yeah. I'm in science fiction mode, I think, at the moment. Science fiction is really broad, though, isn't it? It can be anything, really. It can sort of lean into fantasy, can't it? And it can lean into other genres in a way.
Oh,
So I think
absolutely.
there's a huge scope for stuff you could do in that ballpark, isn't it? So yeah, my favourite theme is a theme I've never actually played. This is the worst interview you've probably ever had on this podcast.
Not at all. I think science fiction can touch on so much. It can be like steampunk. It
Oh,
can
yeah,
be a
it's-
science lab.
Do you know what I'd love to see? I've not watched it yet, but I love the Alien films, and I know a new one's just come out, but I've not seen it. But I love that vibe. I don't know why. I just love it's like industrial. Do you know what I mean? Like grungy
Yeah,
stuff.
like dark,
Yeah.
grungy, abandoned spaceship-esque.
I'd love something like that.
Mm.
On the flip side, what would you say is your least favorite theme? Whether that, again, is something that you've done or not done, or whether it's a theme that you try and stay away from when writing puzzles?
Yes, both probably. Horror / murder.
Okay.
That sort of.
I think that's my favorite, and I feel like it's the favorite for
Yeah.
quite a lot of people, which is very
there's
strange.
there's a lot of them. I think that's my residing experience is sort of an office block room. But again, I don't want to knock it because I know how incredibly difficult it is to run a business, especially in a physical venue. But I don't know. Maybe I've just seen it too much. Or maybe I've just not done one that's blown me away yet.
We need to get you to more horror escape rooms.
This is
because
the
there's
thing is
some
I'm talking
absolutely
and I'm
sensational
talking
ones.
absolute rubbish because I haven't really done that many escape rooms. It's like
Is it you've got beef with the paper version of it, like the tabletop versions of murder games, or is it in-person murder
It's
games?
escape rooms, I think, for me.
Escape rooms,
That's
yeah.
I don't know. Like I say, I think I've just done
A
too
lot of
many.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is a very common theme.
that does vibe with my favourite being the one I've never done.
So are you still a big fan of like cold case tabletop things?
Not really, to be honest. I'm not. Most of my friends are into like true crime, all the documentaries and games like that. But I don't know. It doesn't really. I think it's science fiction for me. I think it's the escapism aspect of it.
Yeah, being able to get away from the real
Yeah, I
world.
love anything like fantasy or sci-fi or that sort of thing. But I know it's like I say, it's really popular. But horror, murder. What would you guys say is the official, if there is one? What is that? What is that
I'd
genre?
say you're leaning more towards murder mystery than horror in that sense. Because
Yeah.
for the most part, a lot of horror stuff isn't necessarily that murder mystery-esque kind of thing. I think quite a lot of the top escape rooms on like the World Escape Room Turbica gradings are horror escape rooms. So there are some sensational ones out there, but I do agree that murder mysteries as a category has been done quite a lot.
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions anyway. They're all my favorites, let's be honest. But what is your favorite type of lock?
None. None of them. Again, same as the horror theme. I feel like I've seen too many. It's
Okay.
just from my experience, I've seen too many locks. The directional locks are very cool, but will guarantee to bamboozle everyone. I feel like they're like, where have they gone?
They stopped making them.
Oh,
Yeah.
they must be valuable now. There's probably like an eBay black market of them, isn't there?
There was.
There was.
The prices increased to like £30 a lock. Obviously, you've mentioned that you're not a massive fan of locks. Are there any locks in particular that you would say are your least favorite?
It's the small ones. It's the small, just because you can lose the key and the padlocks. I mean, if there's 6 of them in a room, they're probably all identical. Yeah, it's the little padlocks. Look at that! I've answered a question. I've answered a question.
Perfect. Straight on to the next one.
Let's go. Next one.
So, while playing games, while writing your own, what have you found that are your strengths that you bring to a team?
I won't say I'm really useless, but I'm not. But I feel like I am. That's the worst non-answer I've ever come out
But
with.
do you make yourself useless on purpose? Because you mentioned before that you don't want to sort of troll ahead and drag everyone with you. Like, you kind of have to sit back and let others do things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it'd be really obnoxious. I'd love to do an escape room on my own. I know there are single-player ones, aren't there?
There aren't many, but there are a few.
I'd love to. I know it sounds really obnoxious. I'd love to try one on my own, just to not have to deal with my friends. I'm no good at anything involving skill. So if I've got to shoot a catapult across the room, we're not getting out of the room. Is this going to be the next question? Is it what I'm
Weakness is the next question.
Yeah. Well, here we go. I've answered one question. Now I'm doing 2 in 1. It's
strengths nothing, weakness everything.
Strengths nothing. Yeah. Basically, anything that's not one of the weaknesses. Yeah, it's not skill based. I don't know. Maybe in terms of strengths, maybe just identifying puzzles. Do you know what I mean? Or recognizing. I know it's a bit sort of
like pattern recognition or like understanding where something's going.
Yeah, I think that, and I think I've got quite a good memory. Maybe that's a strength.
And their weakness is an abundance, apparently.
Right. How long have we got? But yeah, skill-based things, long laminates or pieces of paper or anything with a block of text on it, for some reason, just makes my brain go into standby mode.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like that's quite a common answer.
Yeah.
And it tends to be a common thing in escape rooms, and yet everyone we've spoken to has been like, we hate text.
I think it's just how my brain works, is I like to do hands-on stuff. Do you know what I mean? I like stuff that plunks or makes a satisfying noise. I know it's really simple, but it's really satisfying.
I'm exactly the same, so do not worry.
They're all maths. Do you know what I mean? If there's loads and loads of maths, it puts me off a bit. I don't hate it.
Everybody can agree with hating maths.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to the end of this season and pull together all of the answers and just write out like a review of, this is what people are loving in escape rooms and this is what people are hating in escape rooms, because there are significant commonalities and it's always maths and long text.
That'll be great. I love statistics. I love a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we'll do
nice. I'm excited
end of year roundup. I think that'd be quite interesting, to be fair.
I feel like that needs to be our Christmas special, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness. The Christmas special is just us reading statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could milk it. You could you could do like an advent calendar. You could do 25.
25 days
Yeah.
of statistics.
Yeah. I would be there for every single one.
I don't know whether that'd sink us or not.
Yeah. I don't know how that would go. I'd love it, but
We've become the maths.
yeah, we've become we've become what we hate.
Let's talk about your dream team, consisting of yourself and 4 others. They can be dead, alive, celebrities, etc., even just people that you want to meet.
This is prepared in advance, and it's took a lot of thinking about. My first team member is my old secondary school maths teacher.
Okay,
Ooh.
that's
who
fair.
I won't name
That's a new one.
for, yeah,
For legal reasons.
for legal reasons. She had this vibe that's never been encountered again in my life. I don't know how to describe this. She
No, I
was this
get it.
hilarious tiny woman who used to patrol the corridors with this trolley that she'd push along, covered in books. The trolley with the books on was probably like 10 times the mass of herself. So I don't know how she controlled it or got it round corners or did anything. But yeah, she was absolutely iconic and obviously good at maths. The maths teacher.
That's how she was getting it round the corners.
Calculated everything.
That's it. Yeah, she's fantastic at maths, was like really funny. And I don't know, she was really helpful in a really unique way. So that stood out to me as that's someone I'd like on my team.
That's fair. Adding a bit of humor, nice vibes, and doing all the maths puzzles that you don't want to do.
Yeah, I suppose she can deal with a room full of 30 kids, so she can deal with 5 of us in a room, even if 3 of them are celebrities. So I've also got, and this is a bit of a swerve as well, I think my sort of team leader figure would be Bjorn from ABBA.
Okay, I can get behind that.
It's a strange swerve, but again, it's this sort of unique vibe. It's this sort of like team leader, businessman sort of, do you know what I mean? But not.
But still upbeat and fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but really creative. And I don't know, I feel like it's hard to find someone who's that creative, but also that business minded. Do you know what I mean? And then the last 2 I couldn't really decide on, but I've gone for Susie Dent from Countdown.
Okay, yeah.
Just for just for sort of vibe. I've not super analysed skills because I don't know how many sort of etymology based puzzles there's going to be in this escape room. But I just think she'd be great as part of a team. Obviously, how many years has she been on Countdown with how many different presented teams and teams of players and things? So yeah, Susie Dent. And then the 4th one, I can't decide, but I've gone for Ian Hislop from Have I Got News for You?
Adding a bit of comic relief.
Yeah, well, I thought I want someone who can point stuff out. Do you know what I mean? In a funny way.
I feel like the comments he'd add to it would be just very funny.
Yeah, I just feel like it would. And that combination of 4 people is very weird.
Yeah, it's quite a mix, let's be honest.
I don't want to be living in your brain.
My whole thing was vibes, but I don't know. I think Susie Dent probably just got that spot at the last minute.
That's fair. I'm going to have a look how long Susie Dent's been on that show, though.
She's got to be the longest, because she's still on it, isn't she? So she's got to be the longest current.
I mean, Carol Vorderman was on Countdown for a pretty long time.
I forgot about her for a minute.
I wonder if Susie's pipped Vorders, you know? This is so weird.
You think?
I just realised as well, actually, I think my team ages me quite a lot, because I've got Susie from Countdown and Bjorn from ABBA. So maybe I'm like 70. I spent a lot of time as a kid with my grandparents. So I think this is where this is coming from.
You are not ready for how long Susie Dent has been on Countdown.
Oh, wow. Oh, here we go.
Since 1992.
Wow.
She's appeared
There's no shot.
in Dictionary Corner on Channel 4 Game Show Countdown since 1992. She has been on Countdown longer than both me and Corey have been alive.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
That's not okay.
I don't want to assume Charlie, sorry.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, judging by your player profile and your choices on your dream team,
He's
we were
21.
thinking
that's
mid
what
to
I'm
late
hearing.
50s.
Yeah, to be fair.
So obviously we've gotten to know you from an escape room player type, but what is your origin story? Why escape games and puzzles, and how did you get into them?
This is a weird one, and hopefully it's going to be interesting. But my origin story starts with the TV show The Crystal Maze,
Love
which
Me too.
which is also a mystery because it had ended before I was born.
Yeah, but I mean,
Somehow-
Challenge was playing that for
Yeah.
years.
This is the thing, though. It's like when I was a kid, Channel 5 didn't even work. Like, we had 4 channels, and Channel 5 was just like a mess of white noise. So, Channel 4 must have rerun Crystal Maze for some years.
100%.
Yeah, Channel 4 did, and then it moved across to Challenge, and it
Yeah,
was on
I-
Challenge for eternity. Reruns of that and Takeshi Castle.
Yeah.
Takeshi Castle, man.
I remember that from my sort of teenage years, this challenge, but I don't know how I watched, and I must have watched it a lot because I was obsessed with that program. As a kid,
feel
it
like
must
it
have
was
been on form.
always on in our house. Is
Yeah.
that Takeshi's Castle? So my escape room host identity was styled after Richard O'Brien. So
Oh, wow.
I always used to have the crazy
Flowery
shoes.
shirts, crazy shoes.
Yeah, like you guys have
Hats.
probably seen my crazy shirt today. I know that people listening can't see it. It is very Richard O'Brien. And I used to like find really weird stuff, like weird coloured of Doc Martens, stuff like that. That just very Richard O'Brien.
There's just something magical about that program. Even after Richard O'Brien, even the Ed Tudor Pole version, it kept that. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was because they were playing it sort of seriously. Do you know what I mean? Like Richard's
Yeah.
character lived there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and his
With his
mum
mum
was
and
in
his
the.
auntie.
Yeah, it was so good. Obviously, they've got the Crystal Maze live in London, and recently it came up on my social media that they were doing like a 90s like competition where you could win to go down and do the Crystal Maze live experience, but with famous people from the 90s. So they had some of the gladiators as hosts. They had Mr. Blobby as a host.
Oh my
they
God,
had
I'd love
Dick
to
and
meet Mr.
Dom
Blobby.
as a host. That's so cool. Literally my childhood personified.
Well, I'll come back to that in a bit because it's part of my origin story.
Okay.
But yeah, so that TV show was it. I remember as a kid, I'd been the garage at my grandparents' house, and they always used to have offcuts of bits of guttering, you know, like PVC guttering.
Yeah.
And that was a Crystal Maze staple, wasn't it? Like things rolling down pipes
Yeah.
and stuff, and like water flowing down pipes. So I used to make, so this sounds so miserable. So rather than playing out with friends, I'd sit in the garage and make Crystal Maze games out of guttering
That
offcuts.
sounds sensational. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's
sounds
why I'm
unbelievable.
so disturbed. That's why I'm so disturbed. This like 20
Okay, so the
however many
escape
years
team's
later.
making more sense now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my thing. That I think is my fundamental joy, is to make something and watch someone playing it and enjoying it.
Okay,
I think
that
that
makes
is-
sense.
Yeah, I think that is the thing that makes me most happy, I think. So yeah, basically Crystal Maze was my like childhood thing. I sort of went through school and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And in classic school style, they just sort of put you on the conveyor belt to university. Do you know what I mean? If you don't want to be a plumber or a tradie, do you know what I mean? They just go, I'll just go to uni and do something. I don't know. I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't sure. And then the University of Salford had just started up at Media City at Salford Quays, literally sandwiched between ITV and the BBC. So I sort of thought, maybe this is a thing. Maybe I could go into TV because I love coming up with ideas and that sort of thing. So that's what I ended up doing, was TV and radio. I didn't particularly enjoy it, to be frank. I don't know. It was one of those fun degrees. Do you know what I mean? So most of the people there, they were just there to mess about. So it was, especially the amount of group work, which was, because obviously it's a teamwork industry, isn't it? TV, especially in production. The amount of teamwork that was just like ripping your hair out, frustrating, was not fun. But that sort of ended. I got to the end of that and thought, I don't know what to do. I did a bit of work experience in TV. Bear in mind, we were next door to like Jeremy Kyle, which was sort of,
Whoa.
it was very weird because it was worshipped, obviously, at the time. But everyone who sort of worked there was kind of like, I might work on a different program next time. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one could say anything bad about it almost. TV wasn't for me. Didn't know what I was doing. I was obviously in Salford, next to Manchester. And they said, we're opening a Crystal Maze live experience. So that was it. There was only one thing I was ever going to do, one place I was ever going to work, and it was there. And I would stop at nothing until I got a job there, which I did. So then
No way.
that's where I went, and it was in the old Granada Studios off Key Street in Manchester. It was actually in Studio 2 of what used to be Coronation Street. And it was,
How did you keep this quiet this whole time?
No way. You just whip this out the bag like, no, yeah, I just
This is-
casually worked at the Crystal Maze Live experience.
And it was very strange being there so early on because nothing was ready. I mean, this is a running theme. Nothing was ready at all. I mean, but that building was fascinating. It was actually on an episode of Most Haunted, another mid-2000s hit TV series.
Absolute banger
Absolutely.
series.
So it was weird to watch Most Haunted and watch him like pretending to throw gaffer tape down a corridor. And this is the corridor where I'd spend hours at work. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so basically I worked there and I was, not initially, but eventually the production manager of the whole Manchester one, which was an interesting job.
I think you might have done my dream job.
Well, it was, I think, looking back, it was my dream job because it was sort of hands-on, do you know what I mean? It was fixing things, it was pulling unsightly things out of toilets and looking after the
Yeah.
whole venue, front and back and house is what it says on my CV. Like I say, it's sort of like the biggest escape room you've ever known.
Oh, how big is it?
The Manchester one is the biggest one. It's not as big as the 90s TV show, but it's a lot bigger than the London one. It was just fantastic. It was everything I wanted to do at the time. They sort of set it up and went, oh, we like these games from the TV show, and just hired a guy who makes scenery and theatre stuff, and he just delivered some, but obviously they weren't. This was theatre scenery, not something that needs to be handled by 250 people a day. So very quickly, stuff was, as you will know from escape rooms, stuff was breaking left, right, and centre everywhere. And that's effectively where my job came from. Was, I think, in whatever capacity, I must have been the person tidying all this chaos up. And so it eventually became my job. Yeah, I love that aspect of it. Later on in the time, it was more along the lines of game design, in that games were just like not properly thought out in the first place, do you know what I mean? Or like the turnaround in that place is incredible. A team of 8 people, I think it might be like 10 now, I don't know if they're trying to cram more people in, moves every 7.5 minutes, so 8 times an hour. It's literally a human conveyor belt.
So impressive how even the likes of Disney or haunt attractions, the speed that they can get people through attractions and so flawlessly always impresses us.
Yeah, it's incredible in that sense that it can turn over that many people. It's not been done before, has it? Do you know what I mean? It's not, not to that scale, and it wasn't dealing well. So it was the case that some games we could bolster, do you know what I mean? Some we could just sort of look after long term to make sure that they're safe, obviously, and still work and things. But some were just not playing along. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that then sort of unlocked, that was me in the garage at my nan's house, do you know what I mean, with the gutter in. To be fair, it wasn't much different. We were still using scrap guttering. There was no money for anything, but it was there. And that was my sort of childhood dream happening, but it didn't last very long. I didn't enjoy the environment there. It was not a nice place to work. In something like that, you know, where the public are everywhere, you can't
find a small cupboard to have a cry in.
Well, that as well, yeah. But like, if you're around the public, do you know what I mean? It's not fair on anyone, them or yourself or the company, to be miserable. It just makes everyone look bad. And I was not happy. I was doing too much. It's about, I think it's 20,000 square feet. And that was my problem alone, with no money, in a perpetual state of polystyrene crumbling and health and safety hazards. It's got to be safe, which is like priority one, but it's also got to be fun. It's got to be good value for money. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not cheap. You don't want someone going into a room and going, oh, here's a laminated piece of paper. That's the thing as well with Crystal Maze. You're not solving puzzles for an hour like an escape room. You're probably doing 2 games, which are 3 minutes long. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of personal playing, you're probably only doing 5-6 minutes, you know, and then jumping around in a big ball with loads of tinfoil.
But the nostalgia.
That's it. I think that carries it. It is extremely enjoyable experience. And especially if you knew the show, it's as good, I think. If you can apply the same 480p TV quality over it, it would be exactly the same. But yeah, basically, I wasn't happy. Sort of spent about 6 months at home in this tiny flat in Manchester, having a sort of existential crisis, trying to think, what the hell am I doing? So I had a sort of personal lockdown for a bit, and then waited 6 months, and then we all got the family size lockdown for the chair. So I had a bit of practice for that one. But it was during that period, I did a lot of stuff for Crystal Maze when I was there. I designed a lot. I think I designed like probably 60 games in total.
Jeez,
Because they were just,
Oh my gosh.
towards the end of while I was at Manchester, they were just about to open the new London one, the Shaftesbury Avenue one. And the plan for that was that they weren't going to use TV games. They were going to make their own new games. So that was an enormous job. But obviously it was my absolute joy to do it. Do you know what I mean? But it was sort of tarred with this thing of, I'm sure you'll understand this as working in escape rooms. I don't know if you've worked for that's probably my problem is I've always worked for corporate, do you know what I mean? Big companies that provide these things.
My best mate was the man that owned the building.
Very different experience.
Very different experience compared to corporate.
But it becomes normal, and it's sort of it's like Buckaroo, isn't it? Do you remember Buckaroo? There's a 90s for you.
Pin as much on a person as you can until they eventually explode.
It mounts up and it mounts up and it mounts up, and you go, "Oh, can I get someone to help?" But then the boss is going, "Well, you do this for X amount of money.
Yeah,
I'm not hiring another person. I'm not doubling the spend."
Yeah, and it's justified of, well, you're the highest paid person in this company. Why aren't you doing this? And it's like, well, actually, I can't physically do all of this.
That was my goal, to be able to make something that was mine and I could put my name on it and be proud of, and hopefully one day be able to live off. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's still not happened, but that was the goal, to sort of be able to create something new and something unique. Do you know what I mean? And not be part of a corporate hierarchy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's dream, is to get out of the mainstream, get out of corporate, and you certainly seem to be pushing in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Crystal Maze as well, especially in the UK, it's not a show as a abstract concept, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You could be in IKEA and go, blimey, this is like Crystal Maze.
Like a construct more so than an actual,
So that's always been a thing I've wanted to be able to do, to make something and for someone to go, oh, this is like whatever. That's been a sort of weird. I always say I hate this sort of like blue sky thinking, this abstract stuff, but that's
always seems to come back to it.
Yeah, it's haunting me.
So what does the development process look like for one of your puzzle books? Like, do you start with a theme and then put the puzzles in it, or do you have a bank of puzzles that you then fit to a theme? Like, how does it actually go from start to finish?
Yeah, I mean, very occasionally I'll come up with a good puzzle, usually on a project that might not suit that project. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I will put something on a Google Drive occasionally, but in all honesty, most of them are still there and not really used. I mean, Paper Labyrinth, I've got to talk about, because that's one of my first books. That was written in a notebook in my back pocket at a corporate job. That's naughty, isn't it?
Where all the best ideas come from. When you're bored and you're stressed and you just need to write down and vent.
It was never meant to be a book. I wasn't going to write books at this point. It was just a thing that I don't think anyone's done before, or not in this format. It was this simple idea of you solve a puzzle and the answer is a number, so you just turn to that number.
Okay,
that's the sort of that's the skeleton of it. That's basically the reason I started writing books. I think my official origin story on, like, you know, you read the bio on Amazon is I was on a train to London. It was for a job interview actually, which I didn't get, and I thought, oh, I'll call it W.H. Smith's, because obviously every station in the United Kingdom has a W.H. Smith's.
Yep. Even Newcastle has a W.H. Smith, and 90% of the people in Newcastle probably can't read. So...
Oh, no. That was the thing, is I was like, I'm going to W.H. Smith's, I'm going to get a puzzle book. Do you know what I mean? They have these books where it's like brain teasers and stuff. And I got there and there weren't any. There were crosswords and Sudokus and that sort of thing. But I don't know why in my head these books existed and they didn't. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to buy a notebook and a pen and I'm going to sit on the train and I'm going to come up with one. And so that's how it started, is that it was something I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? As a person, it's something I wanted to buy, is a book that I could just sort of take in my back pocket on a train, sit in the garden and do it, or inside if it's raining, which it probably is. And that's how it started. And then that idea of one page leading to another was the crux of it. I just thought, that's so simple. You've got to be able to make that. I mean, the notebook in my back pocket at work was about 50 pages long. I think the actual book is like 150, isn't it? So it expanded slightly from that. It's difficult because The Paper Labyrinth is my best-selling book by a long way. That's the hit. I mean, it's not really a hit, but for me it is. But I always look at old stuff and cringe. It's like certain puzzles in there that I just think, this is rubbish. But The problem is I can't go back and edit things forever. Do you know what I mean? Because then I'd never make anything new.
Yeah.
So it's difficult in that I'm conscious that it is a bit crap. So I'm sorry if you bought, sorry if you've ever bought that book and opened a page and thought, this is a bit rubbish, this puzzle, because I probably agree with you. But I don't know, it's difficult. But I do feel like that on every project.
I feel like it's very easy to be critical about your own work.
Yeah.
But I've played through some of the Paper Labyrinth that I have here, and I've enjoyed it very much so far.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
The second one is nicer. I will say that. I don't know why. I think it was sunny that year. I think that infused my brain slightly, and it was nice to be able to get feedback from people who kind of gone, I'm not too fussed about riddles because they can be a bit diluted and whatever, but we really like this type of puzzle. So I kind of went, right, these are the ones you liked. Here's 200 more of these. Do you know what I mean?
I really don't like seeing riddles in an escape room.
No.
Like, you either know the answer or you don't. There's like no in between. There's no learning process. There's no curve. It's open to interpretation. Like, it's just infuriating.
That was the problem, is that Paper Labyrinth started in my head as it was going to be this like book written by a mysterious fictional person from the past. So the whole book's got this weird tinge of loads of it rhymes and loads of it's in riddles. And I don't know why, it just sort of is. But there's no story, there's no plot, which some people don't like. I can remember one of my friends found the book and went, I didn't know you'd written this, but she hated it. She said, where's the story? Like, what's the plot? And I was like, well, there isn't one. It's just puzzles. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, but I love Paper Labyrinth. And like I say, that's the one that I think as a complete fluke was a minor success. I think lockdown probably helped with that. I think the timing of lockdown helped. In terms of developing a book, I tend to come up with the idea, the sort of bones of it. So Paper Labyrinth is every time you solve a puzzle, it takes you to another page, or it's part of a multi-page. Do you know what I mean? It's that. Oh, Fortune's quite a good one. A very obscure book. I probably sold about 5 copies, but Fortune is maths based. We were on about maths earlier and how much I hate it, but there's some weird quirks in maths that can be perceived as like magic tricks very vaguely. I'm talking to a magician here, I know. So it's that sort of really. Can you remember them emails that everyone used to? This is back in the day when we all had like AOL dial-up. When you used to get them like circular emails, that people would send around. It'd be like, do this and whatever. It's that sort of vibe.
Send it to 10 people. Oh yeah,
send this to 10, or you'll be cursed. Yeah. But I remember stuff from that sort of era that was like, oh, think of a number and now add this and do this and do this. Is your number 3? That's basically the skeleton of that book. It's one of those, but it's sort of elaborated in a way that you don't realize that's what's happening. So again, that's the skeleton of that book. I've sort of plotted out where I want to get to or what the gameplay is, and then I sort of fill it out from there. Paper Labyrinth, for example, has very vague chapters. It's like...
Yeah, I've played this, but I think I've played your very first version of it.
Yeah.
I think I need to rebuy it. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
But I need to rebuy it and replay it, I think, to understand how it's changed compared to what I originally did.
The fundamental skeleton was the same. For some reason, when I first published it, I thought it would be more mysterious to have no hints or answers in the book whatsoever. How do people navigate this? There was also a magic eye puzzle in there, which I realised in hindsight was a mistake. Because nobody can do them, and anyone who can do them hates them. So that was a mistake.
Should grab the gold edition while it's a whopping 20% off. There you go.
Oh yeah, nice plug.
Shameless promo.
I really appreciate that because I'm terrible at marketing. I don't know why, but I just really cringe at the thought of trying to plug stuff. So I appreciate that you did it for
Imagine trying to make a living. That would be ridiculous.
This is a fundamental flaw, I think.
Well, it's fine. This whole podcast is a plug for your company.
I really appreciate it.
There you go, some free marketing.
I genuinely appreciate it. And anyone who's listening who's got through this 6-hour podcast, it's fantastic.
For all you know, when I get into the editing suite, this could be 13 minutes in.
Yeah, well, all of this is going to be cut, so...
From what I understand, you actually run this entire company yourself, from puzzle design to graphics to web development, packaging, shipping. How do you balance all of this process in order to work efficiently without burning out?
Not very well.
Just constant burnout.
Constant burnout. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's sort of a dull sizzle. I think now I'm allowed to be. I am a control freak. Now I'm doing stuff on my own. I don't want
Now
to
it's
let
for
anyone.
yourself.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it's mine. I'm turning into Gollum here live. How do I balance the whole process? Again, not very well. Is the honest answer. I don't know. It's difficult to be constantly coming up with new things. My biggest problem is I have too many ideas, some of which are probably terrible, but obviously there's no one here to tell me that they're terrible. And the sort of amount of time it takes to make something, do you know what I mean? I often get frustrated with myself that I'm not being productive enough because I'll sort of make 1 or 2 projects a year, maybe a book, maybe 2 books. I don't know really. It's difficult.
I mean, you're doing pretty well, let's be honest. You've written a multitude of books now, and you're still shipping and packaging all of those books that are backdated, while still simultaneously finding the time to run Kickstarter projects and come up with new things. So, as much as you're putting yourself down here, you're doing a pretty darn good job of it.
I appreciate that. That's the thing is I could not do this without the people that back Kickstarters and the people who go on Amazon and buy buy these awful books. No, I'm kidding. I love doing it, and I love like Ultimate Quest is there's another backstory as to why it's called that, but it's boring, so I'm not going to tell it today. But that was always the thing is I love a brand. Like I used to do graphic design. I love brands. And again, going back to that earlier of like the 90s and the mid 2000s, being a kid, toys and things were always so colorful, weren't they? And everything was so loud. And that was the thing. I don't know, especially more so now. Things are more minimalist, aren't they? And classy and that sort of thing. And I don't know why. I think I love to be able to make a project and make it how I want it to look. Do you know what I mean? And not have someone from marketing going, could you make that purple? It doesn't fit the ethos of blah, blah, blah. I love the independence of having my own little world that I can curate, and obviously completely grateful that people support it and enjoy it. I mean, that's the goal, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's like finding a creative outlet that other people have the opportunity to enjoy is, I think, the reason behind quite a lot of what.
Absolutely.
Like, it's the same reason I do magic. It's the same reason I do escape puzzles. It's the same reason I do the podcast. It's a nice meaning to have behind what you do. And again, it gets you out of the corporate space, which is...
It's absolutely that. It's I can make something that is mine, that I'm proud of. Again, this sounds really up myself, but I'm really funny about value for money, and I don't know how to phrase it. Do you know what I mean? Like the quality
not
of service
charging
of
an
things.
extortionate price for something that doesn't need to be charged an extortionate price. I feel like it's nice as a consumer to be surprised by the amount of things that you're getting for the money.
Absolutely.
As opposed to being like, oh, this is £50 and it is worth £50. Buying something at £25 and thinking, wow, this is worth £50 is so much nicer a feeling.
That's my thing. Is I love the thing of getting something in person. You know, that's high for me when a book's finished and the first one arrives. Do you know what I mean? It's like, again, I'm like Gollum.
Yeah.
when the book appears,
hi, precious.
Sort of carry it around the house with me for the next 24 hours. No, I don't. It's not far away from that. There's a bookshelf next to me with books on it. I mean, they're not front out, but they're on it. So it's nice to sort of be able to see. Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's work I've done, and it's work I can take credit for it. Do you know what I mean? And it physically exists. It is there. Like I've done work for like theme parks and obviously Crystal Maze back in the day and stuff like that, but it's not there. It's not readily available.
It's a different type of pride. Yeah. When you've done something yourself and you know how much effort and thought you've put into it, it's a totally different thing as opposed to doing something for somebody else for the sake of it.
Basically, I'm a complete control freak. So I don't think there'll ever be a point where Ultimate Quest will become a real business. That's the thing. Is I'm not a businessman. Like I said, I'm awful at marketing. I do this because I love doing it, and I love when people enjoy stuff. And I'm grateful that it can self-sustain.
Yes.
The amount of people that enjoy it, sustain it, and allow me to do this.
They're the best type of projects, though. I feel like when a lot of businesses get to the point where they're making extortionate amounts of money and everything's running really well, then the quality starts to drop off. Whereas it's the same with like escape businesses. Those mum and dad original escape games tend to be the best ones.
Yeah, always.
And again, it's because you feel the passion, you feel the persona, you feel the person's creativity through the product, and it's not just something for the sake of something. And that resonates with your product. Like everything's super high quality, looks absolutely stunning. Puzzles are always fantastic, and it's why people keep coming back and wanting more.
I think as well, like, if someone finds a puzzle and cringes a bit, I hope they can appreciate that it's my fault. And it's not, do you know what I mean? This is not a big company trying to swindle you with some rubbish puzzle. This is one idiot who made that awful puzzle, and he's sorry.
Cringe on purpose.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the same with escape games. Like, as you said, almost everything's been done now.
Yeah.
So there needs to be somewhat of a balance between cringe puzzles and super unique new things that nobody's ever seen before. Like, there's a fine balance. You can't constantly be producing brand new stuff all day, every day. Like, it's just not feasible.
It's difficult. I mean, this is probably really morbid and boring, but like, especially at the moment lately, just not to be super political about everything, but like, stuff costs a fortune now, doesn't it? Like, there's probably going to be a point in the next few years where I can't do this full time anymore. I'm going to have to sort of take a step back from it.
Because things are getting so expensive. It's difficult because obviously prices of things go up. Therefore, prices of products go up. But the wage never seems to go up. And therefore, people can't afford the fun stuff that they want to do.
That's the thing. And who do I ask for a rise?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't ask
Charlie, pay yourself more.
Come on. Yeah. Again, I think it's probably because I spent so much time with my grandparents who would not spend money on anything. That's drummed into me. You need to get value for money from things.
Yeah.
That thing of getting something extra that you weren't expecting, that doesn't happen anymore, does it? Do you know what I mean? Do you remember like when you used to get cereal and have a toy in it?
Yeah. Don't do that anymore.
Or you go to McDonald's and you get a Happy Meal and it'd have like a proper cool. I mean, there were pieces of tap, but as a kid, they were cool, weren't they?
Yeah, now they're just pop out toys. It's just like a book, or like I'm not saying books are bad, but when you get a Happy Meal in comparison to like a light up Buzz Lightyear that actually flies.
Exactly.
Different story. It's not quite hitting the same.
Like, that bothers me. Oh, here's an exclusive. There is a lost Kickstarter that I was supposed to do last year, which was, I'll talk about it because it's probably never going to happen. It is jigsaw puzzles with a sort of twist. One of them did materialize, which is on the website. So one of them is a jigsaw puzzle, but once you've completed the puzzle, that's the board for a board game, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And
that's
so
very cool.
I love this. Yeah.
There were 3 basically of them that were jigsaw puzzles fundamentally, but also became something else. So one did materialize, but it's been a bit of a flop. But I love it. I'm the only person who loves it, but I love it.
There's exit games like that as well that are a jigsaw puzzle, and then once you complete the jigsaw, you solve the escape room that's on the jigsaw.
See, I didn't know this.
And they're some of my favourite ones.
That's it. See, I'm unoriginal and uncultured. Basically, that Kickstarter didn't happen because fulfilling a Kickstarter is amazing. Like getting to do all the, like I pack everything up myself. I love it. The living room turns into like a Royal Mail depot for like 2 weeks. It's absolutely hell in here, but I love it. That wasn't going to be feasible with jigsaw puzzles because obviously they're much bigger than a book. So I was sort of looking at ways to fulfill it, you know, because there's companies, aren't there, that can do this stuff for you. So I got in touch with this company and it was like an affront to my senses because I was suddenly getting emails from everyone and they were doing Zoom calls, and the guy on the Zoom call was like, words were coming out of his mouth, but it was just like corporate hot air. Do you know what I mean? Just like, it was like Godzilla's breath. It was so weird. I think actually, this sounds really pathetic, but I basically, after this like 2-hour Zoom call, I had to go to bed. Because it was so...
No, that's fair though. Like when you do something entirely yourself, giving some of that away is incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah.
Again, for like I'm super perfectionist, hence why I will always edit these podcasts, no matter how long they take. Some of them take upwards of like 6 to 8 hours.
Oh no.
But I could pay somebody to do this and it would completely clear my time. I just can't bring myself to do it.
That's exactly it. That's the core of it. Is there these people who are going, oh, we'll sort this, we'll get you VAT registered and this and that and this and whatever, and we'll do this and you'll do this, and I think you should do. And I was thinking, whoa, hold on a minute, what's this? And the whole thing was peppered with like the guy on the Zoom call was telling me how amazing this was and how brilliant this is, and I was thinking, this is weird. I'm being buttered up here.
Yeah.
That's my thing, is I hate marketing because I hate bigging stuff up. That makes me cringe a bit. That was aimed at me and I was a bit like, I don't trust this process. So the outcome was I had a complete existential crisis about the project and basically just put it in the bin. And then didn't do anything for a couple of months, which was a mistake, and then started something new.
Well, sometimes you just need to have like that really creative burnout to then come back
Yeah.
and create something completely different. Like I've definitely done it. I've done it with like full rooms of I hate this, let's restart it and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Or that puzzle's good, I can probably keep that one. However, the rest of them need to just be put in the bin. Like the idea wasn't a bad idea at the time, so you were clearly onto something.
Yeah.
You just need to get over that creative burnout because we've all hit it. We've all gone, oh, I just really can't be bothered to do some graphic design for this. Just get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of the whole
Yeah.
thing because I can spend a whole day editing something and go, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. Like, and then I'll go for like a tea break and come back to it, and then I'll restart it because I am so guilty for doing that. Like I produce marketing. The amount of days that I've spent on like campaigns and gone, I just hate all of this, and then gone to another graphic designer and go, just give me something, anything, because my brain can't do it anymore. And they'll be like, yeah, no worries. And they'll give me like the starting point for some absolute brilliant content. And I'm like, oh, that is all I needed. That is all I needed just to get a bit more creative. And
that's the thing. Again, that fresh pair of eyes is invaluable. And it's probably something I lack, you know, with trying to do everything myself.
But it's also like making that community, don't you? Like there's a huge community around puzzle books, around escape rooms, just to be able to like jump on a call at 2 a.m. to someone and then be like, yeah, that's a terrible idea. That's a really good idea. Like it's really invaluable. Something that I offer to a lot of people and more than happy to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, like, I don't know, I'd feel terrible. I couldn't do it. I don't know. I think I've just got this problem for asking for help. Maybe this is like, sorry, this has turned into a therapy session. It's like, it's difficult to do, but I love it, and I love people. Can you see how I'm trying to steer back to the question? I love making stuff that people enjoy, and I just want to do that. Try and keep doing stuff as long as I can still tap away on the laptop.
So of all of the books and puzzles that you've developed, which individual puzzle and project as a whole are your favourite and why? I know this is like making you pick your favourite child, so I apologise, but it's the juicy gossip that people want. Oh, okay.
I can do that. I can do that. I sound like a broken record, but it's got to be Paper Labyrinth or The Last Pyramid, because they're my two children. There are others.
But they're not the favourite children.
I don't know. It's that thing of, I've always loved a sort of universe, you know. I mean, they're popular now, aren't they? Like Marvel and stuff, where something would exist. So like Doctor Who, I loved Doctor Who when I was a kid. I mean, I still do. And you could go and buy a book, do you know what I mean? And a book could reference an episode, and an episode could reference something that happened in a comic, do you know what I mean? And there's a card game, and there's action figures, and I love that sort of thing.
Like wider universe.
Yeah, I love that. And that was always a thing. I'd love to have my own little world that I could chip into every so often. So that's Last Pyramid.
Are there like universal links between your project? Like secret little Easter eggs?
So maybe this is like a psychopathic trait. Again, sorry to turn this into therapy. A lot of books have got a lot of hidden Easter eggs that are yet to be revealed, because I sort of, as I'm working on a book, I'll go, oh, maybe this could be this, and I'll save this for later. So all of the Paper Labyrinth books have things in them that will be used again at some point, but you wouldn't notice us playing them.
Okay. I'll be keeping a keen eye out.
So, yeah, I hide things in, and anything that's got a story. So I wrote a book called Facsimile, which is about a guy who goes missing and then possesses a fax machine. It doesn't sound, it's not as silly as that when you read it. That sounds wild. I've just sort of read that back to myself. I think I referenced it in something else. And there is another game called Stonekeeper 3 Mini Adventures or something, which was a sort of story universe I was going to do at one point. It's on the back burner. But they do exist simultaneously in my head, but probably not executed properly in person. But yeah, I like to tie everything together. But obviously, Paper Labyrinth doesn't have a plot. It's just a book with puzzles in them. Maybe someone created them. Do you know what I mean? This is like answers on a postcard.
Maybe there's an overarching villain.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. Paper Labyrinth, I absolutely love it because it was one of my first books. I've thought about could I do an audio? Obviously, it wouldn't be made of paper anymore. Do you know what I mean? Could it exist in audio or in TV? Because obviously, I've always loved TV. Could it work like that? I always thought a live action Paper Labyrinth would be quite funny. It's in an actual maze made of cardboard, but the walls are like pages from the book.
Whoa.
I've always thought that would be quite
like
fun
a
to me.
fever dream.
Yeah, it'd be quite cheap to make as well, I suppose.
I
It's-
think I've actually had dreams like that, of
Yeah.
like being inside of a puzzle.
Yeah, that's like one day I'll do that. I love with both of those, with Last Pyramid and Paper Labyrinth, you can sort of go places with them. Could write more lore and stories and stuff for Pyramid and come up with different ways to make new Paper Labyrinth books. Or, like I said, there was a jigsaw at one point. Whether that'll ever rematerialize, I don't know. But yeah, they're my favorites.
Do you have a particular favorite puzzle that you've written?
I don't know really. Probably not.
Too many to choose from.
No, I look back and cringe at 99% of them. And the other 1% are okay. I don't know really. There's one in the second Paper Labyrinth book that I really like. I mean, it's not groundbreaking in any way, but it's really similar. If you've got the book, it looks like a diamond. It's like a top-down view of a diamond.
Is this in The Architect?
This is in Return to the Paper Labyrinth.
Okay.
Um,
Pulling it out as we speak.
oh
The
yeah, of
Return to
course.
Paper Labyrinth, that is.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. If you've got the complete edition, I've got one next to me. This is like Blue Peter.
Yeah, here's one I made earlier. Give me a page.
I'm flicking rapidly through the book and narrating this because I'm aware that I'm on
Audio.
I'm on audio. I could never be a radio presenter because I'm awful at filling. Oh, here we go. It's page 201. I don't know.
Sorry,
there's just
Helena, you've just got to imagine this.
yeah, just imagine
I know.
something excellent.
Oh, okay. It's like Star Puzzle. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's
Maths.
maths. It's
Maths! Charlie!
Oh no. It was
Look at
crap
what
all
you've
along.
become. Your favourite puzzles turned out to be a maths puzzle.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. I can remember where I was when I came up with this, which is really weird. Like I say, it's not groundbreaking. It's just, I thought it was satisfying. I don't know if
It
anyone
looks
would agree.
incredible. I'm not this far through the book, so I'll get here eventually.
Yeah.
But I like the look of it. Don't like the fact that it's maths, but I like the look of it.
Yeah, there is some maths in there.
Yeah, we spent an hour grilling maths, and now all of a sudden
Yeah.
we're back.
As long as it's just like plus minus times divide,
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
okay.
not
If it's
Sin,
like
cos, and tan.
no, I can't do no.
Sokotoa.
Someone I once did a virtual escape room, and there was something about hex number codes in it, and that I was like, that's me out.
Yeah, it's not okay.
I know someone would have had
Absolute
like,
whale of a time.
exactly, yeah. Someone who's maybe like a proper graphic designer would have thought that was amazing and just blown their mind. But for me, it just. But yeah, not really. I don't really have a favorite puzzle. Well, I suppose, can I call the whole book a puzzle? Is that a
Yeah,
really
sure.
nah answer to that question?
Well,
That's
that's fair.
So, if you had an unlimited budget to create either a room, a tabletop game, or an in-person game, what would you build?
So, as usual, I've sidestepped this question. I'm not answering the question, basically. This is
Right.
terrible. But if I won the Euro Millions, you know, when it's like 100 and something million,
Yeah, daft money.
I always think I would love. Have you ever been to Stockport?
Are you
Or
buying
driven past?
Stockport? Is that what's
No, I
happening
don't want
here?
Stockport.
I would love Stockport.
Could you imagine if Stockport was just an escape game?
I mean,
the whole place.
Is it
I
not?
mean,
Stockport is lovely. I don't know why people knock it. Well, basically, there's next to the M60, the Manchester Ring Road, there is a very weird building called the Stockport Pyramid.
Okay.
If you Google it, it looks like something out of a James Bond film. And it used to be the headquarters of the co-op, I think. I think it's empty now. I don't know if it's under redevelopment or something. But it's a very weird but very iconic building that I
Oh,
used
that
to
is
drive past a lot.
very cool.
wow.
It's like
that
a
is a
giant
really cool
blue glass
building.
pyramid.
Yeah.
And it's enormous. I always used to drive past it as I was driving in towards Manchester or away from Manchester. And I always thought, how amazing would it be if that was like an entertainment
Facility.
hub sort of?
Yeah.
Again, it's one of them things that I kind of feel like, did it exist at some point and these things don't? Like Laser Quest. I used to be obsessed with Laser Quest as a kid.
Yeah, you don't see it as much anymore. Same with
And
like
like-
paintballing.
And like a proper arcade. Do you know what I mean? Like a.
Yeah. Unless you're in Blackpool.
Yeah, you don't get them unless it's at the seaside. Like 2p machines and
Even
grabber
2p machines
games
are
and-
10p machines now. This is a joke.
is that actually a thing?
Yeah.
That's
Like
wild.
quite a lot of them are now 10p machines, which is
10p?
just absurd. I remember putting a pound in a machine and
Yeah.
getting an unholy amount of coins
Yeah.
back.
Getting like a dirty paper cup full of
Yeah.
dirty 2p coins in Skegness or somewhere like Blackpool.
Skeg Vegas.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd buy the Stockport Pyramid, and inside there would be everything. There would be escape rooms and laser quest and bowling in like one big
Absolute
building. Do you know?
nostalgia fest.
Yeah, I just love that idea of that you could go, what we're going to do this weekend, and you just go, oh, we'll just go here and do something.
Spend the entire day doing anything.
But I just think, how cool would that be? You could have a whole floor that is like escape rooms, and you could have like 20 different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a phenomenal place in, want to say it's in Manchester, but it has like a go-karting track, and then on one floor it's an arcade, and then on another floor it's got augmented reality bowling and axe throwing and all that. I can't remember what it was called.
How have I missed this?
I'll
Where
find
is
out
it?
what it is. I'll put it in the show notes because
Oh, wow.
it probably isn't
A
Manchester,
lot.
but it was really good.
Yeah, a lot of these places that are like complexes that are still alive, there's very few of them around now, but they have changed and they're like axe throwing and they're like the new generation of those arcadey sort of stuff. Like I know that in
VR's popular, isn't it
Newcastle,
now? The like pop-up.
yeah, like the gate used to have like a massive arcade on the top of it, and now it's got like VR headset sort of escape room things attached to it. It's now got an escape room in it. There is arcade stuff in there, but it's all very like virtual reality based rather than the old sort of sticky carpet, what we kind of think
Oh,
about.
wow. Oh, I could have that carpet. You know, that
You
like
could have that
awful
carpet.
cinema carpet.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd love that. Can you buy that? Can you get that in my? Can I get that in my house?
100% you can, because like casinos still use it, and it's all to make you not look at the floor. It's to make you look at like the things inside of that room.
it also hides dirt. I know this is
Yeah.
gross, but when we worked at Odeon, we found out
Oh
this.
no.
The same with buses. It's because the complex designs hide dirt.
Oh yeah.
It's so grim. It's all about
Disgusting.
psychology with that carpet.
I kind of love that though. If I had like a games room in my house, it should have that carpet.
Yeah, I feel like it needs that just for the nostalgia factor.
That's it. When I win the scrap that, if I win the Euro Millions, I'm not buying the stock put pyramid. I'm buying a cinema carpet, and I like
that's
a
it.
2p machine, and we'll put 2p's in it, not 10p's.
Good. That place is in London. It's called Gravity.
Oh, nice. I look that
Gravity's obviously a trampoline park company,
Yeah.
but they also have like entertainment complexes, and the one in London has a go-karting track and
Yeah.
all sorts of crazy stuff. Super fun.
It's this stuff wouldn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Especially not for like independent businesses.
Yeah, it's not something you
There's
can
no
do
way,
on a small budget.
I just think, could you imagine though? That would be amazing to have like one.
Oh yeah, it's spend an
almost like a
unholy
sort of-
amount of time there.
Like a market hall, but instead of food traders, it's entertainment providers. Yeah.
I
That
mean,
would be
even
so
things
weird.
like NQ64, like retro arcades are coming back with bars in them.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing that's sort of popping up, which is super fun, which is strange to see, but it's a nice little combination of alcohol
It's like-
and arcade.
Yeah, it's bringing it back with nostalgia.
Yeah, it's feeling like a child whilst doing adult things.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was two of the old directors of the Crystal Maids, who I'm still friends with. They left. They opened it's a bar. I didn't know what it was. I had to Google it. They opened a bar in London, which is shuffleboard.
Okay.
I was completely bamboozled. I was like, why would you want to slide? It's like curling. You know when you see them on the TV,
Yeah.
the brushes? It's like that, but on a table. So you have to like slide a hook sort of thing across a table.
I mean, even things like that, even like cornhole, which is obviously a very
Yeah,
American thing, like those kind of mini games, like an old school carnival, but inside of an entertainment facility would be sensational.
I think that's the trend is pair it with alcohol and whatever it is, it'll
Yeah,
work.
whatever it is, it's good.
Because we went to a place in Manchester once that did darts. I'm pretty sure it was like a big chain, but that was really cool. It was like,
Was it the augmented reality one where it has like different game types and stuff?
yeah, it does the maths for you. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it was really fun, but like I say, it was like a pub atmosphere, but not like pub darts. Do you know what I mean? It was like
Fun dart.
that.
Wow,
Like
Sorry,
fancy
that's-
darts.
that's a really, really low dig at fans of darts.
It was like a pub mixed with the sort of buzz you'd get doing something like Laser
Like
Quest
axe throwing a laser
or
quest, yeah.
yeah. Oh, an escape room, really. It's that sort of like, you're in the lobby and there's people waiting to go into a room.
Everyone's got that same buzz and like,
everyone's-
high energy and
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I think that's really cool. I love stuff like that.
Okay, so we're going completely away from escape rooms. There'll still be escape rooms in there, but entertainment as a whole.
Yeah. Sorry, that was an awful question. That was an awful answer, I mean.
No, that was a fantastic answer. I 100% would absolutely love something like that. So, what are your plans for the future obviously you just released Robot Revolution on Kickstarter, so that's the immediate future is sorting that out. Is there anything you can tease us with, or any
Yes.
secret upcoming things?
So yes, Robot Revolution will be out in November, I think. The 7th of November will be the 5th birthday of Paper Labyrinth.
Ah, no way.
The original one will be 5 years old. So something new won't be released then, but it will be announced. I say announced, that's very grand, isn't it? I've been playing something for a while and it's new, but it's also the stuff that people really liked. It's not
Okay.
it's not a reinvention, it's a sequel. Well, not a sequel, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It's a love letter to what you love to do and what people like from you.
that's it. That's amazing.
What a
That's-
poetic way to put it.
That is beautiful. But yeah, that's it. It's the stuff that people liked in a new product. So yeah, that'll be next year, probably middle of next year, it'll materialize. Other than that, I do have another project that has been boiling in my head for about 5 years, more, since about 2016. Which is I've always wanted to write a proper book, like a book for adults. Do you know what I mean? A book with words. But I am, like I said earlier, I can't focus on one thing at once. So it's taken a long time. But yeah, that's coming. That's going to be a science fiction-ish book series. Obviously, I love Doctor Who and that sort of thing, so it's got that sort of vibe. But it's going to be, without spoiling it, it's a narrative series of books. The books also contain puzzles, so like you'll get to the end of a chapter and a character's got to figure something out, but you can figure that out. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
You'll
that's really
have
cool.
and if you can't be bothered, just turn to the next page and you'll see how you know what I mean? That's something I'd love, that, like I say, you have the option to
Partake in the story.
yeah, this character does. And the idea is that every book in the series has its own gimmick almost. So I don't want to say what they are because someone might do it before I
No,
finish it.
that's what this section's for. This section's for teasers.
Yeah, so each book, in the way that Paper Labyrinth has its format, doesn't it? Its method of being read or being played.
Yeah.
Each of these books are designed to be read in a different way.
That's really cool. It keeps things fresh.
Yeah, so it's sort of each one is a different overarching game, but they are all like books. I don't know what the term is.
I get
like
what you mean.
A
I get what
words
you mean.
book. I'm selling this fantastically, aren't I? That's my thing. Is it originated as my final project at university for TV,
Okay.
and it was originally an interactive TV
Narrative.
show. Yeah. As part of my research, actually, I wrote to the BBC and Netflix. Well, I say I wrote to the BBC. I went next door and spoke to someone at the BBC. I emailed Netflix, not obviously doing anything serious. I was just like, oh, I'm doing this university thing. Could you comment on it? Do you know what I mean? So I can put it in all my paperwork and whatever
Yeah.
we had to be examined on. And Netflix were like, oh, yeah. Obviously, with streaming, I think interactivity would be great because it's tech-based, isn't it? It's not
Like a physical thing.
you're using a computer or a smart TV to access this, so you could watch interactive stuff easily, couldn't you? Because you press a button and you do this and
They
that.
did something similar with Black Mirror, didn't they? They
Yeah,
did
so
Bandersnatch,
Netflix were like, no, we've got no plans to do this whatsoever.
and then did it.
We're not interested in this. Literally a month later, that came out. I think they were obviously not saying anything because obviously that was in the works or finished. But yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised stuff like that hasn't caught on.
Yeah, it's a strange thing because I feel like it has its niche and it has the people that would enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like TV nowadays is either something you sit back and you binge,
Yeah.
or it's just background noise.
Yeah,
and it's not
something you put on in the
actively
background.
partake in.
Yeah.
Whereas that is more sort of resonance towards video games.
Yeah, I
like
suppose
you're actively partaking in it.
If you wanted to game, then watching 20-minute sections of a TV show is probably quite boring, isn't it?
Yeah,
Before having to make
it's
a
like
decision.
cutscenes in the middle of games. Like,
The whole
let's
game
be
is
honest.
just cutscenes.
I'm not watching those cutscenes in a game.
Yeah.
Sorry, never heard of it. I just want to shoot stuff. You know what I mean?
But yeah, that's where that came from. It's called A Woman in the Brown Coat.
Oh,
I
very
think
ominous.
I think on my Instagram page, I've basically got this paranoia about it because I'm sure that title is going to become a Netflix series or someone's going to release something with that title before I finish writing it.
Sounding very murder mystery-esque, I'm not gonna lie.
But it's got a bit of that to it.
We seem to have found that a lot of things that you hate, Charlie, you seem to do a lot of.
Yeah. Completely
Like that's a
hypocrite.
murder mystery
I mean,
one.
I'll admit it. It's what, Yeah, I don't know. Not so much murder mystery. I love how I'm sidestepping around this now. I think it's new. It's something new. It's not, at least as far as I'm aware, anyway. People seem to love books. I've done a few Kickstarters recently that are more like card games, and Robot Revolution's kind of a bit of both. That's like a comic style puzzle book rather than a here's some puzzles puzzle book. But yeah, people like books. I think especially the people that sort of support the stuff that I do. So hopefully they'll like these books. That's the worst. Oh my days. Can you tell I can't
You're
market
sensational at marketing.
anything? Yeah. People like books. I hope they'll like this book.
Really selling it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Charlie. It's been an absolutely incredible conversation. I hope you've had a wonderful time here. I know we certainly have had a wonderful time talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks to the listener. I have no idea how long this is going to be, but thanks for getting this far.
Could be 6 hours long, it could be 15 minutes, who knows?
Yeah.
We'll find out in the edit. But no, it's been absolutely incredible. Obviously, go check out Charlie's work at Ultimate Quest or UQ Puzzles. Where can people find us on your socials?
I'm not really on that many. I'm on Instagram at UQ Puzzles, I think.
It is. I've got it written in front of us. I
I
don't know why I asked. I've got it here.
Yes.
It's in the show notes. Thank you so much. If you guys have enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a review on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It helps us reach new listeners. If you want, you can share it with friends, other enthusiasts. If you want your pets to listen to it while you're out the house, please do that. It gets our numbers up. But we shall see you next time. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
We need an enthusiastic bye, Charlie.
Oh no! Bye. Sorry. That's terrible. That's great. This is
Perfect.
what chaos.